Hi, my name is Nick, and this is Film Rec Friday. So what is it that elevates a movie from being simply good or even great into one of those rare gems that effortlessly transcends its own time, place, and language, infusing it with a kind of universal appeal that engages and resonates with audiences across generations and cultures? Whatever that thing is, Raise the Red Lantern has it in spades. And if you've never seen this film, I'd like to take a few minutes and pitch you on why I think you should. Now, I won't be saying anything else about the plot because I think the turns and reveals in the movie are best experienced on your own. But let me just say, it's my personal opinion that this movie really does deserve to be mentioned along the same lines as something like The Godfather. A bold claim, I know, especially as an Italian, and one that I'm sure not everyone is likely to agree with. But I found this film to be as gripping and the artistry and craftsmanship to be as good as the best work that's ever been put on screen. And to miss it is to miss the chance to experience a really beautiful piece of art. So let me briefly highlight a few simple aspects of the movie that I hope will elevate your appreciation for it if you see it. Don't worry, no spoilers. First, if Raise the Red Lantern is known for anything, it's the imagery. Every frame feels like its own individual painting. The meticulous composition, the use of light, costume, production design, the casting, it all works together to create one of the most beautiful movies ever. When it comes to the visuals, there's not a single missed note in the entire piece. But one thing many people overlook when they watch the film is that the sound design is equally remarkable. Another reason that it's so easy to buy into the world of this movie is that it was shot on location at an actual historical family compound in China. So those courtyards and that sprawling estate you see, they're not sets, just real architecture beautifully framed by the filmmakers. Which is incredible in its own way, because anyone who's filmed on location anywhere knows the inherent difficulty with framing things well when you can't just move a wall or remove a ceiling and hang some lights. There's a really fascinating contrast here in how the space is used as well, that I haven't seen pulled off as subtly since Kubrick's work with the Overlook Hotel and The Shining. You see, in traditional horror, filmmakers often rely on tight close-ups to create tension, hiding what's just out of the frame or just around a corner. Kubrick, however, flipped that convention by keeping most of the shots in The Shining wide, revealing the full expanse of a hallway or a room. That approach actually made the audience hyper-aware of the environment, heightening the sense of unease as you began to anticipate where something or someone might emerge from. And when you watch Raise the Red Lantern, consider the fact that there's something similarly subversive happening with the environment in this movie. Because on the surface, the film has an open-air design. The wide courtyards, open doors, exposed hallways, semi-translucent curtains. These are things we typically associate with not being constrained, having mobility, flexibility, agency. And ironically, as the story unfolds, it's these exact elements that end up heightening an overall sense of confinement. The characters become constantly aware of one another, their movements, their sounds, and their choices laid bare. It's actually the openness and exposure that isolates the people, which makes the space feel oppressive rather than liberating. And it's a technique that extends to how the characters are framed as well, particularly the husband, who, throughout the film, is often shown at a distance, just out of frame, obscured behind a curtain. He looms over the story like a shadow, always present, always in control, yet never truly seen. Another subtle yet powerful way to use framing to deepen the story's themes of isolation. Okay, lastly, there's a moment early in the film, which is the first time we see the men raise and hang the red lanterns, that for me perfectly showcases why a director like Yimou is unquestionably a master of cinema. At first, this may seem like just a straightforward moment, and yet it's anything but simple. I have watched and rewatched this one sequence in the film about 100 times. In the hands of a lesser filmmaker, this would have been nothing more than a flat, functional, forgettable moment to move the story forward. But in the hands of Yimou, it gets elevated into a kind of visual poetry, becoming almost like a ballet of light and movement. The way the shots are composed, the rhythm of their flow, how they're seamlessly stitched together to advance the information in the scene. It's all executed with such precision and grace that it takes on that wonderful quality of feeling inevitable. as if the shots in the sequence unfold in the only way they ever should. For me, moments like this are the cinematic equivalent of watching a guy like Mikhail Baryshnikov leap, spin in the air, and land flawlessly with grace and elegance. I mean, he makes it look simple, and I guess on one level you could say that all he's really doing is just jumping, right? But have you ever tried to jump like this?
It's not so simple, you see. Not so simple.
And it's tempting to look at a sequence like this and think little of it, because it looks easy and obvious, and it's a delight to watch. But that's because it was designed by someone with a real love and gift for visual storytelling. If you don't believe me, and you think choreographing something as simple as a person hanging lanterns is easy to make look this good, then go grab a camera and try to film yourself doing something as simple as turning on the lights in your own house. See if you can make that simple activity a joy for other people to watch. That's why Yimou is a master. Anyway, as a disclaimer, I'll say that despite the adult nature of its subject matter, the movie contains no real adult content. There are one or two uses of profanity and some suggested violence, as well as a moment or two where we see a little bit of blood, but everything else is left off screen, and the movie doesn't really show or allude to anything explicit. It doesn't need to. Yimou is a better filmmaker than that, and like all great filmmakers, he knows that the best tool in his toolkit is the audience's imagination. That said, one of the reasons I brought up The Godfather earlier is because this film evoked a similar feeling for me by the end of it. It's not designed to leave you feeling uplifted per se, but it's not the kind of drama that's going to leave you feeling weighed down either. I mostly felt grateful for having experienced something truly great. And in my opinion, there's an argument to be made that Raise the Red Lantern is the film that Zhang Yimou was born to direct. It's what I call a definitive version film, like Jaws, The Birds, Back to the Future, Police Story, or even Parasite. It may not be your thing, but when you watch it, you realize that it's impossible to imagine anyone ever doing a better job. There's something about the way that Providence brought these artists together to tell this story at this moment that feels inevitable, timeless, and correct. Raise the Red Lantern isn't just a movie, it's a beautiful piece of art. One that I hope you'll take the time to see, and that I'm sure will stay with you long after the lanterns have dimmed. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe on your way out the door, and comment down below with a film you love that you think deserves more recognition. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Cheers.